This question comes from Patch. He says, Skaggs, there's a rumor that the Miami Dolphins are trying to trade Landry. Who knows why? He seems to be the heart and soul of the wide receivers. Listen to Under Dolphins Wire. Michael Lombardi printed the story. It could be because the story that he was involved in domestic violence. Thought you would like to know, George. Has nothing to do with the domestic violence thing. The Dolphins thoroughly investigated him months ago. His girlfriend even printed a public open letter that he would never do anything to hurt her, and all the accusations against Jarvis Landry were completely false. So it has nothing to do with the domestic violence thing. He's 100% not guilty in that situation. I don't know why the rumors were started. I have no idea. Obviously, the rumors started, I don't know, a couple of days ago. Michael Lombardi and a couple other reports said that the Dolphins were fielding calls from the Cleveland Browns because they have a ton of draft picks, and the rumor is that they're shopping for receivers. So I don't know why the rumor was started. Who knows why? And who knows what the source was, but a report came out today from Barry Jackson, who is obviously very, very close to the Miami Dolphins organization, has been a reporter for the Dolphins for many years. He came out and said that the Dolphins have assured Jarvis Landry and his camp that they have never and did not field calls for trades. They have not even considered it, was the quote from Barry Jackson. So, whether you want to believe Michael Lombardi or you want to believe Barry Jackson on this, I have no idea. Either way, it's been giving me anxiety for many days now. I think this would be an atrocious decision. I think it would be a disastrous decision for many different reasons. I tend, whenever you hear that the organization has assured somebody that they're not going to be traded, you don't completely believe it, because we've seen it so many times with different organizations and their players that they've said, yeah, we're not moving you, and then the next day they get moved. So this is a business, and this has nothing to do with what we want. It has what to do with what the organization wants. If the fans were in control of the organization right now, Jarvis Landry would be, and Jarvis Landry would have a max deal at this point. So, who knows what's going to happen? Who knows how the report started? That's all the information we know as of right now. But if the Dolphins were to get rid of Jarvis Landry, it would be a disaster. Number one, he's the most talented slot receiver. He's a first-team All-Pro slot receiver in the NFL. So you could draft for 10 years and not find another Jarvis Landry. That's how talented this guy is. He holds the record for most catches by a receiver in his first 3 years. Try to find another guy who can do that in the draft. It's going to take you a long time. He's a once-in-a-generation type of a talent. Number two, he's a fan favorite. I don't think there's another Dolphin on the team that, other than maybe Adam Gase or Cameron Wake, that is more beloved than Jarvis Landry. Just because of the way he plays, with the emotion he plays with. He wears his heart on his sleeve. He cares so much to win. He works every single day, and you can see it on the football field. So, he's a fan favorite. You would be ripping the hearts out of fans if you did that. It would be utter chaos amongst fans if that happened. Number three, he's the emotional leader of the locker room. He's the emotional leader of the locker room. He is the leader on the offense. So if you got rid of Jarvis Landry, I think the locker room would not be the same if you did it. I think the leadership, I don't think the Dolphins, as inside the locker room, would look at the organization the same. Because Adam Gase preaches, if you do well, you get paid. And we saw that with Kenny Stills. You saw that with Andre Branch. They had great years. And the Dolphins paid him. So the Dolphins have this culture of we pay our own if you perform well. So that would look bad if the Dolphins did it. You would be losing an all-pro caliber talent. You would be getting rid of the fan favorite, literally the fan favorite on the Dolphins, and you would be getting rid of the emotional leader and the leader of the offense. So if the Dolphins completely discarded all three of those things, then I don't know what the heck they're thinking. I don't know whose decision that would be, whether that would be Mike Tannenbaum's or Chris Greer's, but that would be a terrible decision. Our talent, the talent of our roster would go down. It would go way down if Jarvis Landry was traded. And if it was for a corner, that's the rumor, then I don't care if you got Patrick Peterson. I just don't. I think the talent of our offense would go down either way. I don't care who you get on defense. So it's a terrible decision. I hope it doesn't happen. And I hope this gets figured out soon. This question comes from Dwight. He says, Xavier Howard appeared to have never had a ball thrown his direction the entire Philadelphia game. What are your thoughts on that? And what do you think about him being the island cornerback of the Miami Dolphins defense? I think he is the island cornerback. I think he's the number one corner. He's the most talented corner on our roster. And, you know, from what we've heard from the organization and the coaches, them saying he is a number one shutdown cornerback. He has the potential to be that. And, you know, some of the things that we saw last year is we needed to see more consistency. Now, a rookie cornerback, you know, all rookie cornerbacks have a very hard season. There's very, very minor exceptions to the rule when it comes to rookie cornerbacks. Even Darrelle Revis didn't have the greatest rookie season. So you kind of expect that from a rookie corner, you know, to have kind of hit that rookie wall, especially since Xavier was so injury prone last season and barely got any reps at all, and he was basically playing off of ability. You know, you expect to see that from a rookie corner. So consistency, you definitely want to see this year him be more consistent and be more, you see more of that. In this preseason, other than the Atlanta Falcons game, he's put together 2 back-to-back very consistent ball games, which is really, really nice. And that's what you want to see out of Xavier Howard. You know, some of the things that you've seen him, I guess, struggle with, you could say, and struggle is probably an extreme term to use, but you know, some of the things that you saw, at least in the Atlanta Falcons game, you know, he struggled in that game at least, from receivers getting in the middle of the football field, from getting across of his body. And, you know, you've seen some of the things in the past what he struggled at is he can be overly aggressive sometimes, you know, biting on double moves and stuff like that. And those are young cornerback things that can be fixed. And obviously consistency is another thing we want to see more of from Xavier Howard. We just want to see more of that consistent number one corner that we've seen in the past. And we've seen that so far this preseason. Like I said, he put back-to-back, you know, really good games on tape, which gives us all confidence. I think he's by far the best corner on the roster. He's got tremendous ball skills. You saw that in the Baltimore Ravens game where he just, you know, ran the route for the receiver. He's so physical, and he wears down receivers, which is a good thing. That's what I really like about physical corners is they just wear down their opponent after a while. It's just really tough getting off the line of scrimmage constantly when you have that strong of a, you know, big guy, you know, hitting you constantly. It just wears you down. So that's another thing I love about Xavier Howard's game. He should have a great year this upcoming season. If he can be more consistent, he doesn't, you know, be overly aggressive, then I think he'll be great. You know, just some of those, you know, those nuances when it comes to being a veteran corner, take time to learn when you're a young corner. And I think he's definitely developing some of those things. And we've seen nothing but positivity from Xavier Howard. We've seen consistency, and he definitely looks more acclimated to the NFL game as well. So those are all great things we've seen from him so far, and I expect big things from him this upcoming season. This question comes from Sega Surfer. He says, how good of a season do you think Julius Thomas will have? Will he bounce back from his time as a Jaguar? He absolutely is going to bounce back from his time as a Jaguar. There are a few different reasons why he did not have a successful season as a Jacksonville Jaguar. He actually started, I think, 13 games his last year in Jacksonville. Obviously, he gets a bad rep from his time in Jacksonville because he was injury prone. It actually was not as bad as people make it out to be. It's a little bit exaggerated. There was actually, I think, 2 years when he was in Jacksonville that he started 10-plus games. So it's a little exaggerated of the injuries a little bit, even though he did have them. But there were a couple of reasons why he wasn't successful. He wasn't 100% healthy most of the years down there in Jacksonville. And obviously the quarterback play was not very consistent and at times atrocious. So, you know, and he did not have the coaching staff in Jacksonville was absolutely terrible. So not only is the quarterback play going to be a million quadrillion times better than it was down there in Jacksonville, the coaching staff is it is so much better than what he had down there in Jacksonville. And he also feels comfortable in the playbook. Obviously, this is what made Julius Thomas a multi-year getting paid millions of dollars type of a player is because of his time with Adam Gase. Obviously scoring back-to-back years with 12 touchdowns, and he didn't even start, I think he started less games the second year he did. I think it was 9 games he started, and he still had 12 touchdowns. So, I think all of those things are going to make for a better Julius Thomas, and he should have a great year. Obviously, this preseason, or this last dress rehearsal game against the Eagles, scoring a red zone touchdown was nice. Some of the things that he's going to bring to the table. I don't think there's a better tight end in the NFL that runs the seam route better, maybe other than Gronk. But Julius Thomas, when he was in Denver, there was nobody better at it. And Adam Gase loved calling that play from him. So he's going to open up the middle of the field a ton for the Miami Dolphins offense, and you're going to see a lot of those seam route plays, especially with Jay Cutler and his strong arm. So it's going to be very, very exciting to watch Julius Thomas in a Dolphins uniform. And obviously, he's a super athletic tight end, great hands. Some of the things that have been you kind of scratch your head out so far in terms of Julius Thomas is his run blocking has been poor. Especially against the Eagles, there were a couple blocks there that you kind of just shake your head at. But other than run blocking, from so far what we've seen of Julius Thomas, I think everything's been pointing, it's been very, very positive in terms of what I've seen. The only negatives I've seen is just run blocking. And, screen blocking on the perimeter has been pretty dang good from Julius Thomas. You haven't seen all of the screens in preseason because obviously the Dolphins don't want to show their hand. But from what we've seen in practice, his perimeter blocking has been pretty good as well. So everything that we've seen of Julius Thomas so far has been very, very positive. And I cannot wait to see him back in Adam Gase's offense for the 2017 season. This question comes from Ronald. He says, do you agree Miami should look into moving TJ McDonald to the linebacker spot in the nickel as a hybrid type player like the Cardinals used Deion Buchanan? The same thing happened with Mark Barron. Mark Barron is actually the most similar player to TJ because TJ played so much in the box, and so did Mark Barron early on in his career coming out of Alabama. Obviously, the Tampa Bay Buccaneers took him in the first round. Didn't work out. Goes to the Rams. They convert him to a linebacker, and he's played great ever since. Some of the things that we saw in the Eagles game that I did not like is obviously TJ comes from his years in St. Louis and LA, where he played mostly in the box. He didn't have to cover as much ground as a free safety. And he struggled in coverage in the Eagles game because of that. He's just not used to that. He looked like a fish out of water in that Philadelphia Eagles game, which is not a good thing. And that's the thing that we were worried about when we signed him, is we knew TJ McDonald, super talented guy, great open field tackler, can set the tone as a defender, and definitely is going to help us stop the run this upcoming season. But coverage in terms of being a free safety is totally different when you're playing coverage in the box. You definitely have to be a better athlete. Obviously, TJ McDonald is a big dude. I mean, he weighs a lot. He's probably, in terms of other free safeties, he weighs more than most. He's just not used to playing that position. And we saw that in the Philadelphia Eagles game. Him struggle in coverage, especially off of play action. It was pretty bad. So, obviously, the injury to Raekwon McMillan, him being suspended 8 games, for 8 games of the season, and we've seen what Nate Allen can do. If Nate Allen plays well enough at that safety position, because obviously Nate Allen's been a free safety for most of his career, then I think we should go ahead and definitely consider that, because I think TJ McDonald would excel at that. Whether we want to play him at middle linebacker or outside linebacker, I think he would definitely be, because he's definitely better than Ray Maluga, and he's a better run stuffer than Ray Maluga has ever been throughout his career, and obviously TJ McDonald can also cover from that linebacker position. So, I think we would be putting him back in what he likes to do, and what he's been successful at throughout his career. He would be back doing that, so he'd be more comfortable within this defense, and you could just let his talents go. You definitely can really get the most out of TJ McDonald if we moved him back down to linebacker. And he could be a 3-down guy. Ronald, like you said, moving him to the nickel spot, meaning he would be in more of a coverage role. I think they should just, like how the Rams use Mark Barron, keep him out there for all 3 downs, because he obviously can do that, and I think he would excel at that. I think he would be great. I think he could be a very, 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 very good at the linebacker position. Like you said, we saw that with Dayon Buchanan. We saw that with Mark Barron. We've seen that with many other players. We saw that with Shaq Thompson in Carolina, switching from safety to linebacker. And I think what TJ McDonald does well, like I said, especially in the running game, how physical he is and how, dominant he is within the tackle box, that would be a great fit. Not only that, like I said, I think he can be a 3-down player and be very, very good in coverage as well. So that is something that the Dolphins need to consider, and they should consider, especially if Nate Allen, you could call it an audition if you want for those first 8 games. If he plays well, and he doesn't have to play great, if he just plays good, then that is something that the Dolphins definitely need to consider, because that is a great idea, and I love that idea. I think that fits what TJ McDonald does well to a T. This question comes from This is Patrick. He says, why do you think the Fins cut Craig Urbik? So initially they thought, obviously, when he got the knee scope, that they were just going to clean out the knee. He might miss a week at the most. And obviously, I think he took, I guess he went to the doctor, and the results came back way worse than initially thought. And, I think the Dolphins were noticing a difference. Adam Gase described it this way when asked about this. He was saying that the Dolphins noticed a difference in Craig Urbik's play. They knew something wasn't right. And Craig kind of played the injury down for a very, very long period of time. So he's had this knee injury for not just a couple, this didn't just happen. He's had this for a while. And they noticed that his play was deteriorating. They didn't understand why. They kept asking me if he was hurt. Eventually, they forced him to go to the doctor. And the results came back way worse than initially thought. So I think the Dolphins, he was going to miss more than one game. I don't know how many games exactly he would have missed, but I'm assuming it was going to be at least, it was going to be a significant amount, if not 10 games. So the difference between Craig Urbik, Jesse Davis, Anthony Steen, and Isaac Asiata probably wasn't that big of a bridge. Probably wasn't that big of a difference. So the Dolphins, I guess, made the decision, you know what? Let's clear some, roster. Let's clear a roster spot. Let's clear some space. Let's just go ahead and part ways. So I think that's probably what factored in to the decision to just let him go. I mean, he could come back. He definitely could come back, depending on the severity of the injury. So we'll see. Hopefully, maybe the Dolphins are looking into signing somebody else. Obviously Brandon Albert's out there. Nick Mangold is still out there, so maybe that had something to do with it. I don't know the exact answer. I mean, obviously we can just speculate on reasons why, but I would suspect it was for those reasons. This question comes from Dwight. He says, I personally felt that Maxwell was getting picked on in the Philadelphia game. What are your thoughts on how Maxwell might be picked on this year if he were to be the starting cornerback? I think getting picked on was a strong term to use. A lot of it was just busted coverages. I don't think he was getting picked on. A lot of it was just zones that were not executed nearly as good. Obviously, a lot of people are pointing out the Torrey Smith touchdown. It wasn't just his fault. Obviously, Rashad was caught looking in the backfield, which is not something you want to do, especially if you're playing deep safety. If you're looking in the backfield and just standing still and Torrey Smith is running at you full speed, then that's going to be a touchdown every single time. So, it's not just Byron's fault, but the effort that he gave, I think it was cover 2. I'm pretty sure it was cover 2. So he was expecting help over the top. He didn't get it. Rashad was caught looking in the backfield. But the effort that he gave when he just kind of just let him go, he literally stopped. That's just terrible effort. I don't know what the heck. I don't know what that was, but that was just bad effort on Byron Maxwell's part. It had nothing to do with ability. It was just effort. He just gave terrible effort that play. Great coverage up until he thought Rashad was going to give him help, and he just literally, he just stopped and just let him go. So that was bad effort on Byron Maxwell's part. It was not just Rashad's fault. If you give better effort there, Rashad has a little bit more time to recover and correct the mistake. Maybe he wouldn't have corrected it, but it definitely would have looked way better, especially since that was just bad effort. There were a couple different plays. Obviously, the red zone touchdown was not his fault. I definitely don't think that was his fault. The play was called. If you watch that play, they faked the bubble screen. Right, so they faked the bubble screen, and Byron Maxwell, Maxwell took the bubble screen, which he was supposed to do, and they had a zone. They had literally 5 different people in the middle of the football field. They dropped Cameron Wake back in coverage. They had, 3 other guys there to help with the coverage in the middle of the football field. Terrible communication. It looked like nobody knew what the heck they were supposed to do. They weren't in the right positions at all. Everybody was kind of just standing around, and the play was just executed terribly. So, again, not all Byron Maxwell's fault. It just was a terrible executed play. If that was play, let's say that was 0 man or something like that, that play would have been locked up. It was just a weird play call that it was a good play call, was not executed right. So the biggest plays that he gave up were not entirely his fault. And there were a couple plays in that game, if you watch the game, where he had great coverage on Alshon Jeffrey. He did let up a slant for a first down against Alshon Jeffrey, which that was all him, and that's something that Byron has trouble with throughout his career, is with slant routes. But there were some good and there was some bad to that game. A lot of people are talking about the bad because the bad was touchdowns, but not entirely all his fault. So that's what I think. That's what I think about that Maxwell's performance. I don't think it was all on him. Some of it was just bad effort on his part, and some of it was just busted coverage. So it was basically 50-50. And then there were some plays where it was just all on him. Like I said, giving up the first down to Alshon Jeffrey, which Alshon Jeffrey does that to everybody. So I don't think it's as bad as some people are saying. I don't think it's bad enough to consider Alteron Werner starting, even though Adam Gase was definitely not pleased. And the coaching staff definitely was not pleased with Byron Maxwell's effort, which I wouldn't be either, because that was just atrocious effort on his part. But it had nothing to do with ability. I think it was, again, 50-50. Some of it was his. There were some plays where it was his fault, some plays where it was partly his fault and partly the defense's fault overall. So I think it's being exaggerated of how bad he plays, but the coaching staff definitely was not happy with the effort he gave. I know that for a fact, and that was the reason he got benched last year, was because of his effort. So we'll see what happens with it, but I don't think it was that bad of a performance for Alteron Werner to start. This question comes from Powerful Tailor. He says, is Jay Cutler going to have double-digit picks? So depending, his year with Adam Gase, he threw 11, which throwing 11 interceptions is actually really, 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 really good. Depending on how many touchdowns you throw, obviously. If you go 28-11, then that was a really good, really, really good season for you. So I think he's not going to throw like 18, 15 interceptions, especially under Adam Gase. Obviously this offense is it allows the quarterback to be more efficient because of the matchup problems you present. So you have a very high percentage. It's a high percentage that it's going to be a completion. It's a very quarterback-friendly offense. You're not asked to make a ton of difficult throws in this offense, and even though Jay Cutler can do that, and accuracy within this offense, you don't have to be the most accurate quarterback in the world, because some of the play designs, the receivers are just wide open, and some of the plays, I'm not gonna say most, but some are just an extension of the running game. Some of the plays are just get the ball in your playmaker's hands and let them go to work. So it allows the quarterback to be more efficient. Obviously, Adam Gase has been with Jay Cutler most of his career, not just as an offensive coordinator, as an offensive assistant, and as a quarterback coach as well. So he knows what Jay Cutler does well more than any other coach in the NFL. He knows what Jay Cutler likes. He knows what Jay Cutler isn't good at. He knows what not to call and what to call in certain situations. He knows just every minute detail about Jay Cutler when it comes to calling plays for him on game day. So all of those things, Jay Cutler should just be a more efficient quarterback, and it should put him in the best situations as possible because of those things, and obviously the talent around him as well. So there is no way. Whether how many touchdowns Jay Cutler throws for, I would not expect him to throw more than 11 interceptions or 12 interceptions. I think he's definitely going to keep the picks down because of those factors. This question comes from All-Star Gabe. He says, should we sign Nick Mangold? Yes, actually. Before I said no, and that was before we were nuked with injuries. But yes, I think it's time to strongly consider Nick Mangold. I'm surprised the Dolphins haven't at least had him in for a workout because of the connection between him and Mike Tannenbaum. Obviously, Mike Tannenbaum drafted him. Nick Mangold is a Hall of Famer. That's how good his career has been. He's one of the best New York Jets to ever live, and I think he still's got a lot left in the tank. Now, obviously, he's injury prone, but why not take the risk at this point? There's no reason not to. So yeah, I definitely think the Dolphins should consider signing him. He's played in the AFC East his entire career. He knows what it takes to win in this division. Most of the people he's going to be blocking, he's blocked many different times. So he knows what he's doing. Obviously, I mean, how many NFL defenses has this man seen? Obviously, he's not going to be playing center, but he adds versatility in case something happened to Mike Pouncey. We could shuffle him around. Obviously, Adam Gase is a huge fan of versatility when it comes to the offensive line. I mean, how many times have we heard Adam say that? So I think he's a fit. From that standpoint, I think he brings a great veteran presence to this football team, this young Miami Dolphins football team. Not that we don't already have that and we don't have great leadership, but he does add that factor. So I like the Nick Mangold signing a lot. He's a great run blocker. He's very, very physical, and I don't think he would, depending on the negotiations there, I think he would love to play guard. And obviously he's a great fit in the AFC East. He knows what it takes to win. He's seen every formation in the book. The only question mark I guess you would have with Nick Mangold, not even the injuries, because I don't even think that should be considered because we have nothing to lose at this point. But the blocking scheme, he's been in how many different blocking schemes? How many offensive coordinators has Nick Mangold had? So I don't even think that's an issue. So the Dolphins should definitely consider Nick Mangold and at least have him in for a workout because he brings a lot to the table, and I think he would be a great signing for the Miami Dolphins. This question comes from Gerry Dickerson. He says, should the Miami Dolphins sign Ahmad Brooks? No, I don't think so. I think Ahmad Brooks is, like Rey Maualuga, is far out of his prime. I think he would just be getting another Rey Maualuga. There are different reasons why I don't think he's a scheme fit. One of the big reasons we signed Rey Maualuga is because Matt Burke obviously has coached Rey Maualuga for most of his career, and obviously they had some success when they were together. So that was a big part of why Rey came, because he knows the scheme. And it kind of fit like a glove. And, getting Ahmad Brooks in here, he would have to learn the scheme and all this other stuff. Not only that, but he would have to learn a completely new defense. He comes from a 3-4. For most of his career, he played outside linebacker. He was a tweener guy. He was a pass rusher and a linebacker. So I think for the needs that we need, he just doesn't fit them. So I don't think we should sign Ahmad Brooks at all. Like I said, Ronald suggested earlier in the video of putting TJ McDonald at linebacker. I think that's probably the best alternative if Nate Allen plays well. So, no, I don't think the Dolphins should sign Ahmad Brooks because I think his jump from a 3-4 outside linebacker to a 4-3 linebacker, that's a big one. And I don't even think Ahmad has ever played middle linebacker in his career. I could be wrong about that. If I am wrong about that, you guys can correct me on that, but I don't think Ahmad has ever played middle linebacker. I think for most of his career, he's been a tweener linebacker, so I just don't think he fits what we're trying to do, and I definitely don't think he fits a 4-3 defense. This question comes from Cody. He says, if you could, would you have kept defensive coordinator Vance Joseph? No, at this point in time, it's weird because I think the Philadelphia Eagles game was a really cool if you really wanted to see how Matt Burke is going to call defenses or call plays for the defense, it was almost identical to how Vance Joseph did it. Obviously, those two were partners in terms of a working environment for a very, very long time. They worked in Cincinnati together for many years, so they have the same kind of philosophy. Now, when that was said, and that was one of the bigger reasons Matt Burke was made the defensive coordinator. I thought we were just doing that so the defensive players didn't have to learn a new scheme. But no, legitimately, this man, really has the same philosophies as Vance Joseph. He might not be the same leadership there, like he might not be the same personality, but he calls plays just like Vance did. It was actually uncanny. So I didn't think Matt was going to drop people back in coverage from the defensive line. I didn't think he was going to get into all that exotic type stuff, but he did against Philadelphia. Now, whether he'll do that in the regular season, who knows? But that is definitely more exotic type of play calls than you see in preseason. It's not, base defensive, like simple stuff. So that was very telling. So I don't think we're losing anything from a play calling standpoint. And I don't think we're losing anything. I mean, it definitely different personalities, but Vance was a great defensive coordinator, don't get me wrong. The magic that man worked was amazing. So, from a play calling standpoint, and the way he subbed people out was like amazing. So, I think Matt does very similar things to what Vance did. He didn't lose a lot, and I think it's a great testament to the staff that Adam Gase assembled, that Vance Joseph got a head coaching job, and so yeah, I don't think I would have kept him, because I think I would have felt comfortable with what Matt Burke brings to the table, and Vance Joseph always wanted to be a head coach anyway, so I think it was a great for both sides, and it was a great reward for the Dolphins organization that the coaching staff that we had that particular season, and I think we still have a great coaching staff. So, yeah, I think it was a great decision either way, and I think I would have, if I was in charge, I definitely would have felt comfortable keeping Matt. So that is going to be it, guys. That has been your Miami Dolphins fan Q&A for this week. A lot of great questions. I'm surprised we didn't get any questions about Lawrence Timmons. That really surprised me because of how great of a game he had, but maybe that's a good thing. So keep asking questions in the fan Q&A, so that way we have a ton of questions for the podcast. And let's get through a couple before I let you guys go, let's get through some housekeeping things first. If you guys are itching for more Dolphins content, then please go check out DolphinsTalk.com. We have a lot of content that is coming down the pipeline that you guys are really going to enjoy, and definitely going to make the community happy on this channel, and it makes me excited that we get this opportunity to make that type of content. We got a lot of cool things planned in the future, so DolphinsTalk.com has a lot of cool content on their channel, from articles, videos, anything you would possibly want to keep you on the latest news. They have their own podcast. They actually have a daily podcast that they do on DolphinsTalk.com. So if you want cool content in the future on this channel, and you want to support more Dolphins content, and you're itching for more Dolphins content, please go check out DolphinsTalk.com, and go check out at DolphinsTalk for their Twitter. Also, hey, if you like this channel, make sure you go check out more videos on this channel. We have tons of Dolphins content on this channel. We have the best Dolphins community on this channel, very active community. If you want to be a part of it, obviously we welcome all members to this community. So it makes me very excited how this community continues to grow, and obviously this is a chance for the community to connect and have a conversation, especially with the fan Q&A. So if you want to be a part of that, please go check out the channel. And I am Skaggs1383, and I will see you guys in the next one. Let's get through the rigmarole first before we get into the Miami Dolphins podcast. Remember, guys, this podcast posts each and every single Wednesday. The first segment of this show, we go through all the Miami Dolphins news you need to know about. The second segment of this show, we go through all the AFC East news you need to know about. The third segment of the show, we highlight all the players you need to know about on game day. And the fourth and final segment of the show, we go through the Miami Dolphins fan Q&A.